can wash away any form of conflict in words and energies and frequencies, because inherently within our genetics, many race lines, many family lines, many agendas, many cultures, many traditions have built into them conflict, because each sector wanted to preserve itself. Each sub-state wanted to preserve itself. But when we know in the wholeness of all things that all things are sustained by the wholeness, it's like if you're separated from the wholeness, you won't live, you won't survive, you'll be diminishing. So a lot of traditions are still washing through the constructs of our minds, and many of us are repeating habitually. Many of us are repeating habitually the resonance of animosity and the resonance of conflict through history. So I would like to call everyone, within their own minds, within their own historical reference of themselves, any conflict that might be arising when people speak. It might be any person speaking in the room. So any person speaking in the room about their particular point of view will obviously cause conjecture, conflict. It might cause disturbances, it might cause disagreement, it might cause points of knowledge that you have that you say, well, that's not right. Well, I'd like to call everyone in the room to find maybe, let's just say, a vessel that they can cast those thoughts into for later thought. So let's just say, let us create, in the middle of this room, let us create a big bowl that we can throw all conflict and disagreement into just for the moment, and put it on the back burner and say, well, let's listen to each other's point of view, because all points of view have some relevance from some distant past, and in the confluence of time, in the culmination of time, everybody is accepted. Everybody is worthy, even though we're being trained in techniques that may not be beneficial to life. We all have within ourselves some form of innate worth and acceptance and beauty and goodness from the original creative source. So let's just say, let's put on the back burner any conflict and throw it into that bowl that we're now placing in the center of this room. It's a good thing, we can just throw that conflict in there and say, I'll look at that later, and maybe you'll have a different viewpoint when you come back to it. So it's wonderful that we find we're from the same source. All of us in the room are from the same source of life, even though we've grown through many cultures of great diversity and a sense of preservation, a sense of scarcity, and a sense of attack, and a sense of defense. We've all wanted to preserve our own culture, believing it to be true, where in actual fact we're being taught deviations and distortions. We can come into a community now where we have great unity, where we have acceptance for one another, and we can say, I accept you because you are of great worth. I accept you because you are of great worth. You're wonderful. The things that you're saying might not gel or might not resonate with my programming, therefore instead of having a conflict, let us put those conflict issues into a bowl right in the middle of our room here, and continue on with the things that we do have in common, the things that are worthwhile, the things that are beautiful and whole and perfect and are beneficial to life. And so what we can do is we can always say that. We can always say, I choose to accept that being. As Jesus would say in the Bible, love your enemies. I think it's in Luke 6 or something like that. Love your enemies and those who despitefully use you. Love them. Because why? Well, source of life, or God loved them first, and God loved you also, and said love one another. And even though you might have conflict, the ultimate achievement will be to find that love and peace and joy and abundance and creativity amongst yourselves. So therefore, because you haven't got it now, it would be a good idea to put aside those things that are exacerbating or exaggerating the conflict. Put them to one side and say, I accept my brother. He has great worth. I accept my sister. She has great worth. Let me hear what this one has to say. Let me hear what this one has to say, because this one is of great worth. And there are many rich treasures coming forth from the deep places within this one. And I might not quite realize those in myself, but when I listen, when I'm affording the time and the space to listen, I'm going to really appreciate what this one has to share and give. And maybe I can resonate with that because that's part of my heritage too. So, you know, peace is a good place to start and a beautiful platform to get resolution. It's wonderful. Conflict only builds conflict, and it strengthens conflict, and it builds an explosive device that's going to shatter our ultimate goal, which is love and peace and joy and goodness, beauty, rightness, truth, abundance. So there you go. I like to speak to people and say, within you there is a marvelous light. There's something so beautiful within you that's been long forgotten. You've been taught of men, of this world, of separation. You've been taught of education, media, families. You've been taught of distortion, and you've filed those down as the archives of your reference, and they're not doing you much service at all. But that's the way the world has gone. But within you, suppressed within you, is that beautiful gemstone of true creative ability, and all knowledge is given to you, and you can refoster and rebuild and bolster that strength and power and determination and courage to come forth boldly to receive your true identity again in the furnace of change, where you are prepared to change your mind and dissolve the controls that don't serve you. You can let the fire of living light rise up and bring you the true revelation of your origination, your beauty and goodness and wholeness and power. For you are very, very worthy, each one of you. And I love that, you know. I love that. Anyway, Sub, come up. I see you there. I'm going to hand over the microphone right now. So see you there, right there on Paltalk there in the room. What's the room there? Caught at the Crossroads. Beautiful. And remember, I am recording this for the internet. So I might just keep the mic rolling now, Sub, with your comments, okay? If that's all right with you, just let it be known. If not, tell me to shut it down, I'll shut it down. Okay, hand over.
Well, I did put my hand up a couple times, and my hand up was down by the beam, and I feel like I'm in the Nazi room right now, because I cannot put my hand up and say what and I was threatened to be banned from this room to whatever I want to say. So what is it? And I'm glad you're recording this on the internet, because this is not to be. And I'm not gonna say the name, but work on it. Really work on it, because hell, if I cannot go.
Listen up, Sub. Nobody's gonna sit and listen. The room is not gonna sit and listen to your rant. Do you understand? If you have something to say and you want to be on the mic and say it, then say it. Nobody's gonna listen to any other rants. Okay? Wingman, it's your mic.
Yeah, in response to, I can't remember who was talking about conflict, but in response to conflict and world peace, well, let's face it, this world peace business has been a desire from all the Miss World contestants since the Miss World contest started. I think we'd all like it, but at the end of the day, war is profitable. And, you know, how do we get around that fact that war is very profitable for the global power elite? And, you know, as for conflict and conflict resolution, well, yeah, of course we'd all like to get on, but at the end of the day, I think in the face of ambiguous morality across the world, you know, different morals here and there, then there's always going to be that ambiguity which leads to confusion, which leads to chaos and war, etc., etc. So if you want to try and reduce or minimize conflicts, then you need to somehow reduce the ambiguity between the template of moralities that exist, if you want to call it that. So you might say the Bible is a template of sorts of morality, and then you've got the Quran and then, you know, all the others that exist out there. But you know, these all differ, and this is one of the problems why we have the differing kind of levels of morality. I think my solution would be, or a solution would be for the world to agree on a morality, a minimum kind of human level of morality, and enforce that in commerce, enforce that in the administration, and so on and so forth, and de-emphasize the parasitism that exists around the world, the corruption that exists based on this new template of morality. And that way we all know where we stand, we're all on the same page, and you minimize ambiguity and confusion, which, like I mentioned, leads to conflict and war, etc. So that would be a good place to start. Go ahead, mic's open.
Thanks for that, Wingman. Yes, it would be lovely if we could put into practice through the political structure something that did try to enforce something, but I'll tell you what it is. The will cannot be enforced. The will can only be enacted upon through your own intention. And so therefore any external government acting upon men cannot force them to do anything. But the willingness of man to bring a moral structure of goodness into society is very, very powerful. You know, an idea whose time has come, nothing can stop it. So if a man has a will to discipline himself in a way that would bring high moral standards and internal government, in other words, he would be the epitome of the Christ through his own disciplines and regeneration and casting down of all external controls. If everyone could within themselves govern themselves. See, external government, I'll bring a biblical quote here. It says, the law is the strength of sin. So in other words, if you put a law upon men, it causes them to break the law. But if a law of life works within men, the law will be fulfilled in society. So as you sow the law of life that's found within you into the external fields of manifestation around you, then it will be so. But if you're trying to suppress a man and crush his own inability to bring life forward, you will have a society which is a dictatorship. You're going to have to find life within yourself, every one of you. You're going to have to find your self-governance and not be governed by any man or structure of external law. And that is what life is. Life is your liberty and freedom to express your innate capacity of life that offends no man, even yourself. But if you are controlled by outer forms, you are totally suppressed and crushed and condemned, and you will go down to death. Law causes sin, and sin causes death. But life brings regeneration, and it is the truth. You're going to find it within yourself, every one of you. And that's my teaching. My teaching is the law of life is the self-governing system that wells up within you and spreads into community around you as everyone is doing the same. And that's the inversion of the world model. That's the inversion of the world model. The world sees crushing and demonstration and dictatorship, oppression, elitism, control, finance, crushing, industry, corporations. Crush, 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 crush. I'm in control. Crush, 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 crush. The living system of the living one says you are free and liberated. You have life and light and liberty and levity and laughter and the law of life working in you. And so shall you see that in your outer world. You've got to find it within yourself. That's the law of life. That's Christ. That's love. That's light. That's liberty. That's levity. That's laughter. That's the law of the love of the Lord of life. You're going to find it within yourself, and you will oppress no man because you give every man liberty. You give every man freedom to find it within himself, herself. And it's wonderful. It's beautiful. This is the teaching. This is the multi-cosmic teaching that's coming into the planet. And this world is about to pass away because it cannot be sustained, because it has a use-by date. The oppressive regime of the financial structure and governance from outer form is killing itself and annihilating itself because it cannot sustain itself. It is determined to kill itself because it is completely annihilating itself because it has no liberty. Freedom comes through everyone, and we're all the same one. And that's the life we share together as the one life. So anyway, hand over the mic. We love you. We love you. We love you.